Yeah.
You know,
Don't try to improve perfect. Come on.
No, this is true. This is true. So it looks like we are live on Facebook. It looks like we are live. I'm just going to double check.
I can see it.
You can see us? So,
Yeah,
we're good. On. We're on.
You're on.
I love it when a plan comes together. I love it when a plan comes together. Now, I can't see Facebook because I don't have enough computer screens here. Wait a minute. Does that, if I do that, that's all right, isn't it? Versus that.
Nothing changes.
Nothing changes? Sweet. Yeah. Okay, so I've got my phone on with my light. See, I've got my Kim Kardashian light on. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Spirit Hive. How exciting. We are very, very excited to have you guys join us here this morning for our live Spirit Hive. You! And the crowd goes wild. Now, I'm just trying to get us up on my social media so that I can see when you gorgeous peeps post a question for us. Where am I, Spirit Hive? It's not hard. It's just not easy to think about when you're trying to think about something else. I think I'm having a boy moment. No offence, Marc.
Shall I say none taken, or shall I think about that one?
Alrighty. Oh, okay, so I'm not having any joy here on getting onto our Spirit Hive.
I've got on you on the page.
Oh, you've got us, Robyn? Okay.
I do.
Well,
and good morning, Simone Elling. Good morning.
Yeah, the video's working. Yeah, it's working.
You got it?
Yep. Yeah,
it's so good to have technical people. It's so good to have technical people. I'm just kind of sitting here going, I don't know.
I don't even know what my name is. All right, so I'm getting there. All right.
50 years of making and still getting there.
Oh, here we go. So I'm getting there. Yeah, you can hear me. I'm getting there. All right. Okay, so forgive me, everybody. All right, Robyn, well, given that you are the blessed one who has access to being able to see us, will you mediate our questions for us this morning?
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
I will.
Awesome, because I'm not having any joy actually being able to see it, which is most unfortunate. I'm just going to try one more thing. Most unfortunate. Most.
I've got you covered. It's all right.
You've got us. Okay, good. Well, I'm going to have to rely on that. So, good. So who do we have that's watching us? Has anybody said good morning or hello this morning?
Simone Elling.
Obviously.
Hello,
Obviously. And C. Rogers.
Yeah. Hello, C. How are you?
Hey, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Very cool. Oh, this is very exciting.
Carolyn's a good mate of mine. See, she's good.
Oh, so it's Carolyn.
We have got 7 watching. We need them to say hello to us so we can say hello back. Though.
Yes, everybody.
Yes, please say hello to us.
Please say hello. Yes.
We need you. Desperately, we need you.
Okay.
All righty. So, let me just try one more thing here. I don't know if this is going to work.
Give it up. Surrender.
Let it go.
It really is about that, isn't it?
Let go.
Alrighty then. Letting go.
Let it go.
So today we're talking about intuition, and this is a really great opportunity for everybody that jumps on board to be able to ask their questions and to really be able to engage with us as your panel. So I want to introduce you to everybody so that in case this is your first time experiencing Spirit Hive, you know who we've got on the team here. So over there, we've got Robyn. So Robyn, Yes, a bit of a Brady Bunch. So we've got Robyn over here, and Robyn has been working with Spirit Hive since we started actually, and Robyn has been working in the background, looking after and managing all of our volunteers. So Robyn has put her hand up and said, "Yay! I'm so excited because I want to speak too." So
why not?
Well, why not? You know what? Life is short. Life is short, Swish. So Robyn has taken on a speaker's role with Spirit Hive. And of course, over here in the middle, we have our very delicious director of, you're pointing to? So director of counselling, Marc de Bruin. So Marc has been with us since almost the beginning as well. He's come on board as one of the senior leaders in the team. He handles all of our big counselling cases. So if anybody needs any additional support, Marc's the guy you go to. But Marc is also one of our really amazing speakers. And if you have seen Spirit Hive before, you know Marc really well. But if you've never met him before, this is Marc.
Yay!
And newest to our team is our beautiful Jen Forster. Now, Jen has come on board as a speaker for us as well. Jen and I have been in each other's lives for years. And
over a decade.
And it makes so much sense to have her as part of the Spirit Hive team because she's one of us. She speaks our language. She has the same vision, the same ideas, the same dreams, I guess, as we all do. All of us, Marc, Robyn, me, Renee, Michelle, all of our directors, all of our team, Nicole, everybody that sits, Nick. God, it's too many names now. So it makes sense when you find people that are of a like mind to bring them together and then to deliver and provide a service to the community. So welcome, everybody, and welcome to all of our viewers here this morning. This is very cool, very, very cool. So what we thought we would do was open up today's session, because we've got a very short space of time, but we thought we would open up today's session with each of us taking just a minute to talk to you about where we used our own intuition. And if you've watched the videos through the week, you'll see that we've covered a fair bit of content around how to develop your own intuition. Now, Michelle is not going to be doing a video after today's session for the youth, simply because she's had some real tragedies in her life over this last few weeks. And she's actually been stuck in a real, well, not stuck, but she's been swimming through a lot of grief. So we've decided that we would share the load today. So if we go a little bit over, don't worry. It's just because Michelle's not got her session. But also, too, parents, take what you're learning here from us today and share it with your children on a day-by-day and a week-by-week and a month-by-month basis, simply because when we learn to develop our intuition, we learn to listen to the inner voice on the inside, which means we become less reliant on the voices outside. And if we look at society right now, there's a lot of voices outside that can affect the sensations going on the inside. And it can be incredibly destructive. And there's a lot of, right now, for us as adults and also for children, there's a lot of people clamoring and a lot of things happening to pull us down into the darkness. And it's through our own intuition that we'll be able to stay in the light, because staying in the light is where we're going to be able to come through to the other side of everything that's taking place on the planet right now. And it's only that ability to maintain that personal space, that personal, internal personal space, and listen to the internal voice and have a relationship with that internal voice that will give us the peace of mind moving forward, provided we're listening to the right voice. And that's my little piece, in that I found when I started to want to try and trust myself and listen to that internal voice, I could never determine what was the internal voice that was for my greatest good and what was the internal voice that was for my greatest should. That rhymed! Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Ow, 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 pow, 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 pow. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Unreal. So, actually, I do have applause music somewhere here, but I can't find it now. So what I found was there was that real battle between what I should be doing and my greatest good. And what was the difference between the two? And I'm going to hand over to the other guys in a moment, given, our time is short. But the difference that I found for myself, and you guys might find the same thing for yourselves when you go inside and you listen to what you're thinking about. You listen to how you're feeling. You listen to what's going on the inside. I found for myself is that one of them came with weight. The greatest should always had weight to it. It always had a expectation or an anxiety, or it had a previous experience attached to it, or it had a belief system attached to it, or it had something that came from my family's expectations, or came from other people's expectations of what I should be doing. When I thought of my greatest good, it actually felt different. So the greatest should always had a feeling in my gut area. The greatest good came from my solar plexus. It felt like it came from a soul place, and it had lightness to it. Yes, there was a sense of, I've never done that before, but it wasn't with weight. It was actually, and I want to say marshmallows, it came with fluff, and it came with lightness, and it came with effortlessness. And even though it was a whole bunch of unpredictability that came with that, there wasn't weight. So that's the way that I determine my intuitive voice versus my ego voice, my greatest should or my greatest good. That's the way that I determine where that voice is coming from, because we all have that. We all have that series of voices between our two ears. Knowing which one to listen to, however, can sometimes be confusing, especially when you don't have a great relationship with it, especially when you haven't developed that connection to it. This is the way to start. This is the way in. And that's certainly been my experience. So I'm going to hand over first cab off the rank. Robyn, sister, you're up.
I'm up. That was great. Thanks, Carren. I do want to share my journey to here. It all was from intuition, all from those feelings. And I remember I met Carren at an event back a few years ago in Ipswich, a girls' grammar, a note to self. That's where I first met Carren. And then I'd already knew Michelle, Director of Youth. And I somehow became a volunteer with Spirit Hive. Michelle had asked me about being a volunteer, and so I did. And then I found myself at a live hive, and then I remember Carren, we were doing a little debrief with the volunteers, and I remember Carren talking about speakers, and it was that feeling, that inner feeling that I had, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I felt like she was just speaking to me. And it was just that inner feeling that I had, that maybe, but then you had the other side going, oh no, that couldn't possibly be me, and so with that, I just kept going with the feelings I had. And in the journey, I have been a volunteer. Then I became National Volunteer Coordinator, looking after all of our beautiful volunteers, which is amazing. And now I'm following my feelings of speaking as well. And that's how I ended up here, just listening to those. And I could have been quite easily thought, no, not good enough, or had those limiting beliefs and things like that. But I got to myself here because I trusted in those feelings and thoughts as well. So yeah, that's my journey here. Cool. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah. So, and lots of other things in my life, of course, with intuition and things like with my kids particularly. I found doing the inner work for myself plays out with my kids as well. The ego, it doesn't play as much as it used to. So yes, I love those feelings of intuition, those little butterflies and those, the little feelings in the heart, or that overwhelming feeling of calmness, peace. That's when I know things are good and right.
How delicious. How delicious. Oh, beautiful. Yes. Thank you, Robyn. That's amazing. And it's wonderful to have you on the team, and it's wonderful to have had you follow your vision and follow your dream for what was coming up, and almost like the universe presenting to you, you saying yes to it, which is also fun, to see where things go.
Yes.
So Marc,
I love it.
Marc, hit us up with yours, boss.
Oh, well, yeah. I heard you talking about language and the shoulds and stuff, Carren. I think, that's a good topic.
Yeah.
I think, as a counsellor, I'm always a little bit interested in the science behind stuff as well, and I won't go too deeply into that. But I think there's a difference between knowing and intuition, a knowing and intuition. A knowing you can't really develop, you got it or you don't. Whereas intuition you can probably develop, by experience and by doing it more and more. But that's half a book in itself already. What's the difference between the two? I think practically it works out to roughly be the same thing. You just have an insight in something that feels right. And I think that's the thing for me that's become most important. Like, does it actually feel good? Not does it feel good like a dopamine fix, like, I got to do this because this feels so good, but does it consistently feel like the right thing to do? Even though your mind might scream, no, don't do it because it'll be stupid, there's something inside this undercurrent that says, go ahead, you'll be right, just do it. That was me quitting law practice, everything in my left brain went like, do not do this, this will be the stupidest decision ever. Whereas something on the other side of my brain and in my body went like, go for it, dude. You'll be quite fine if you do so. So it's sometimes that internal struggle that takes place, which is okay as long as you can work your way to listening to the right voice. And I know there was a question earlier, I think, not today, but I read that on Facebook. It's like, how do you know the difference between things being the past or things actually being, what's going on? And that's tough. Sometimes it's really tough. Sometimes you don't know. But what I find is undercurrent voice that constantly says, just go that way. Whereas everything screams, go that way. And that undercurrent voice just keeps telling you, it's like, no, go that way. As soon as you start to learn to listen to that one more and more, you can start to rely on it more and more. That's something I've found. Look, I said to you before we did this live, Carren, it's like, I wouldn't be in Australia if I hadn't listen to this voice that says, make a move, man. Just it'll be fun, just do something. So, and I wouldn't be doing this. Hey, it all links together. There's this whole chain of events that comes afterwards. One thing I want to give you that or not you, everyone actually, that I always do with clients, like, be very careful of the language you use. And that's how I came to what you were talking about. If you hear a should, if you hear a must, if you hear a need, if you hear an ought to, if you hear a have to, if you hear a got to, you're probably looking on the wrong side of the fence. If you hear a want to, if you hear a decide, if you hear a choose, if you hear a will, if you hear a can, if you hear a opt, if you're using some older language, I opt for that one, then you're probably looking at the good side of the fence. So if saying is I should be doing this, have a closer look, because maybe it's not you wanting that, but societal expectations wanting you to do that, or mum and dad wanting you to do that, or society in general wanting you to do that. If you go like, look, I really want to do this, and it comes from a place that's a bit deeper, so bring that body sensation like you were talking about, bring that in. If you say, yeah, I really could do this, like this would be so cool, pay close attention to it, because probably that's telling you something you want to listen to very closely. So keep that language stuff in mind. That's one that works for me. As soon as I hear a should or a must or an ought to, where I feel some pressure behind it, I generally stop and trot on the spot and have a closer look and go like, is this really so? Is this me? Or is this something or someone else telling me? But if it's that'd be so cool, or I could do that, that's probably me talking. And that's a big distinction for me to say, okay, intuition or pressure, knowing or expectation or whatever. And but always look at it second time as well. Don't just go with whatever your intuition gives you. Just put it under the microscope a bit. Look at it.
Absolutely.
Is it really true?
Yeah. Unreal.
That's me.
Thank you. That's fantastic. And I think that having you have followed your intuition on such a big decision that would affect you and your family, I think that's evidence of when we have developed that relationship with our intuition, that we can actually say yes with enthusiasm, And the piece that I want to add to that is that I wonder whether you would have moved to Australia anyway, given that you would have just thrown caution to the wind in the end anyway. You know, I often think that what is for us will never pass us. And even if we don't dance with it initially, it's still going to happen. You know, it's those sorts of things still happen. So it's almost as if the universe says to us, follow me or don't follow me, but I'm still your leader. You know, it's like I will still lead you and you will always go where you're supposed to go. It's just whether you do it effortlessly or whether you do it holding on, screaming, kicking with a whole bunch of shoulds.
Well, that's the big question, eh? Is life predetermined or is it free will or is there a plan? You just never know.
This is the thing. Miss Jen, why don't you fill us in? Give us a bit of an outline. Tell us about your experience with intuition.
Thank you so much, guys. I love listening to your perspectives. Look, for me, I can think back over almost every big pivot that's occurred in my life, and there's been a lot. So initially leaving Tasmania when I was 21 years of age to arrive in Sydney with one suitcase, to, you know, getting married and then moving to the Sunshine Coast, deciding to go to Saudi Arabia, deciding to, you know, leave my job and write a book. All of those have been super, super big, pivotal moments. But the undercurrent, Marc, which you speak to, for me always comes in just two words. When I'm not where I'm supposed to be, where Source, God, the universe is trying to direct me, these two words just nag at me. And the two words are not this. So I don't always know where I'm going next or where the universe or God or Source or Spirit or the Tao or whatever it is wanting to move me. But I know that it's time because I hear this, not this. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. Almost all the big pivots that I've made have not made sense. Not made sense to my ego at all. In fact, I could come up with a million reasons to stay doing what I was doing, and I couldn't come up with one reason to make the move. But there was always this, not this, not this, not this. And so when I feel that in my body, and it is a feeling, I really want to touch on that. I think intuition, well, it is a feeling. You know, it's always a feeling. And sometimes we don't understand the feeling. Sometimes we don't know. In fact, I'll share this. There's a mentor of mine once said to a whole bunch of us, the ego will always show you what you'll lose, but it will never show you what you'll gain, because it can't. Only your heart can move you towards that. And that comes with trusting and it comes with surrendering. But for me, the moment to make the move always came from a sense of, I don't know what's next, but I know not this. I know right now, not this. And that's always been how, for me, how I've really connected strongly to my intuition. And over time, sometimes, you know, obviously years ago when I was 21, I truly didn't understand it. But I recognize it really strongly now. And now it's not just about the big things. Now it's you know, it can be conversations, it can be situations, it can be circumstances, anything at all. But I feel the not this. And that's my access point to move to, and Carren, we talked about this on our live, the whole concept for me of always asking my heart, what do I want to do versus what am I supposed to do? What's expected? What is it expected of me to do? What should I do? I'd like to check in and ask, what do I want to do? What do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
And then not argue with the answer. Don't argue with the answer.
Ain't that the truth? It's that willingness to listen, isn't it? It's the willingness to actually hear and then take action based on that. And I remember having a conversation with a really good friend of all of ours, Bianca Iono, and she stumbled across me in a park once and she said, "What are you doing here?" And this was years ago, and I said, "I'm trying to figure out how to trust myself." And it was the most amazing question, because to me, she was someone who looked like a powerhouse, you know, and she was always a powerhouse. So it was amazing to actually meet her in the most unlikely place. And I think that that's one of the things that is really beautiful with what each of us has said about trusting our intuition. It's very much about a languaging. It's about a willingness to act. You know, like Robyn, you wouldn't be here. You know, this would not be happening. Us. You know,
absolutely not.
Marc in Australia, Jen with all of her adventures. You know, all of these things, and I think that languaging and having our own personal way in. For Jen, not this. For Marc, it's, you know, your willingness to actually trust that inner guide. You know, the one that gives you the insight. And it brings me to a question that our beautiful friend Krishna has asked on Facebook, because I've got it up now. Yay.
Oh, good.
Yay.
It's ready to ask you.
Hi, Krishna.
Hey, Krishna.
You couldn't let it go.
I couldn't. While you guys were talking, I went, I have to see.
I love it.
Krishna says, do we think we need to explore our shadow in order to stay in the light? So I know, look at you, Marc. You go, all juicy. He loves it. Oh, God, that's hilarious. So I'm just going to give a quick 1 minute, and then perhaps the three of us can give the three of you guys can give your view on it. As far as for me, exploring the shadow in order to stay in the light, I don't think one can ignore it. And Krishna, you've done a lot of work with me over the years, and we've spoken about that, and I know you know this so well, and it'll sound so familiar. What we resist persists. So if we try to resist the shadow, if we try and resist the coulds and the shoulds and the woulds and the musts and the have-tos, if we try and resist those things, they're only going to persist. They're not going to go anywhere because they are there. The only difference is that I would suggest is that they serve a purpose, and we spoke about this on last month's Spirit Hive, is that everything that's dark or heavy or dense that feels like it doesn't serve us in the greatest way, it's not something to be pushed away. It's something to be embraced, because it's only through the embrace that we can create change. So when we embrace it and say, I hear you, I see you, I acknowledge you, thank you, now let me see what your purpose is, because your purpose is not destruction. Your purpose is not to destroy me. The ego's purpose is not self-destruction. It never has been, and it's unfortunate we've been conditioned that way. But it serves a purpose, from my point of view and from my experiences. It serves the purpose of becoming a platform to launch us into the light, because you can't know light until you experience dark. You can't know hot till you experience cold, and vice versa. So we tend to learn greatest through contrast, and that contrast must serve a purpose. So by looking at the shadow, we then get to say, well, what are you here for? And my view is to always look for its direct opposite. What's the direct opposite of the shadow feeling? Like the direct opposite of light is dark. The direct opposite of dark is light. So then the direct opposite of the feeling then makes sense. So what's the direct opposite of that shadow sensation, or that shadow thought, belief, or experience, or emotion? And then once I establish what that direct opposite is of that feeling, then my job is to build a relationship with that direct opposite, rather than continuing the relationship with the shadow. And then, as Marc said in last month's video, take action on that. Make it part of your strategy. Make that part of your action plan. Don't sit around with thumb up bum and not do anything with it. And that comes back to what Jen just said before, is being willing to listen and take action. Over to you, Robyn. I mean, over to you. That way. Over to you, Robyn.
Absolutely. I believe that we all go through those motions. We all have things happen in our life that could be self-destructing. And for some, yes, it does. But I think if we can sit in that space and in that feeling of, like you said, Carren, like what is the opposite feeling to that? I think that just helps us to move that next step. that next step. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just those little things that move us in that right direction of who we are meant to truly be and how we're truly meant to feel. And, you know, life is life and things happen and shit happens and things like that. But I saw a little meme last night, so I might just share that. It says, events that force you into a dark place inside may be devastating and painful, but you can become because of it. Is magic. Use your pain, your shadows to fuel your light. Not everyone will know your struggle, but soon everyone will know your light. So beautiful. And it's so true. So we all have those dark moments in life and the pains and the sorrows and things like that. But I think just switching it a little bit and you know, reaching out and getting the guidance from other people who may have experienced things like you. And I think that's why we're all here, is that we've all gone through those experiences in some form, whether it's someone that's been affected by suicide or anxiety or depression or whatever. But I think that's important. That's why we're here. That's why we're here to help.
You know, Robyn, you remind me, I did a presentation the other day for a big organisation online, and I just heard that song, Superheroes.
Yes.
And it says, when you've been fighting for it all your life and you've been struggling to make things right, that's how a superhero learns to fly. Every day, every hour, turning pain into power. I just loved that. And those lyrics, I think, is so beautiful because it says when you've been fighting for it all your life, when you've been struggling to make things right, that's how a superhero learns to fly.
Yeah.
Oh,
her intuition was her favourite superpower.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, delicious. Marc, over to you, boss.
Yeah, look, you pretty much said it all, ladies. Look, my lot of contribution, I think, do we have to explore our shadow? No. You know, you don't have to. It's like, if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's all part of the same thing anyway. So is it useful to do so every now and then? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, being a boy, we're slightly light on the testosterone here today, but yeah, being a boy, it's it can be the turbocharger on your engine. By looking at your shadow, absolutely. You know, you can find out things that really don't work for you and go like, okay, let's make that work and turn towards that light more. You know, you don't have to dispel darkness. You just have to flick a light on. That's all. Yeah, so do you have to look at the dark side? No, you don't have to. I don't think that's necessary, but can it help? Absolutely. The mistake I hear a lot of people make, and I see them in counseling, is that they make dispelling the shadow, beating the shadow, you know, just getting rid of the darkness becomes a quest in itself. And then we're on the wrong track, because then you're actually veering off into, you know, the rabbit warrant of trying to beat the shadow, and you can't because it's part of you. Well, I have a dark side too, and we all do. It's okay. So with good intentions of people thinking, okay, if I can get rid of my shadow, then I should be light, that type of reasoning, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, because it won't happen. So do you have to work with the shadow? No, you don't have to, in my opinion. Can it be very useful as a turbocharger on your engine to find out who you really are and what you want to do? Totally. And that's where I think it's very useful. So I generally don't work with shadows unless they come up. You know, so if a shadow side comes up in a person moving forward, sure, yeah, let's have a good old look at that one. But if you can move towards what it is that you want with all your dark stuff that comes with you, let's do it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I do great things in life, and I still have really bad days every now and then where I seriously doubt myself. I don't have to do anything with that. I just have to keep moving forward and keep doubting myself and keep moving forward and keep doubting myself and keep moving forward. And I'm still moving forward because that's where my primary focus is. Yeah, so you don't have to. It can help. But I think in this whole yin-yang thing, the dark side will always be part of us, and that's okay. Yeah, as long as we don't make it the focal point of our attention, because then you're steering into very deep dark holes that you might not come out of, unfortunately. You know, I found with some people, they're so caught in this, I need to get rid of this bad stuff, that they just can't see the light anymore, literally or figuratively speaking. And that's sad.
And Marc, do you think that we've been very much conditioned to believe that we've got to get rid of the dark stuff in order to move forward. I think that even what you just said then, in that move forward with the dark stuff, like who cares?
Negative emotions and negative states are considered bad, so they have to be taken away, which our brain actually doesn't understand, because it's like, well, this dark stuff that you're focusing on, you want to get rid of that dark stuff. The dark stuff you want to get rid of, that dark stuff. Hey, the dark stuff? Like, oh, that dark stuff you want to get rid of. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because you keep focusing on that dark stuff. And I know that sounds really simplistic, and there's more to it than we can say in this video, but no, we can move with the dark stuff, rather than fighting it. And I think you see a whole society now, when it's me being philosophical, trying to get rid of negative feelings and thinking that feeling bad is wrong. As if there's something wrong with me if I have a really bad day. No, it's just part of life. It's, tomorrow you will potentially feel better. If not, there might be something going on. Have that checked by a psychologist, doctor, counselor, whatever, But it's normally having a bad day or having a bad week or even having a bad year can sometimes just be part of life. Don't have to fight it. Just keep working towards what you think is more important, more valuable, and keep going towards that and put your primary focus on that one. And then you'll find the balance.
Oh, God, I think that's a game changer.
Hope so.
I think that's a game changer. I think
practice. If that one doesn't do it, I might as well quit.
But I think it's a whole other way to relate to it than what we've been conditioned to. It's that you can't move forward carrying all your baggage, Well, you know what? I'm 51 now. I've been trying to fight my bad stuff for so long and trying to get rid of it. Yeah.
It's still there. I might as well make friends with it. It's just...
And that's the key, isn't it? It's like what you resist persists, so make friends with it, embrace it, and let's see what happens with it.
Use it as the turbocharger in my engine. Just go faster.
I love that. Jen, over to you, sister.
And I love that you just ended on that making friends with it, because for me, that's the work to be done. It's not about getting rid of any aspect of us, whether you want to call it light and whether you want to call it shadow or dark. It's all part of who we are. And it is, in fact, our ego, I believe, anyway, that it's our ego that has, let me just come back. It's our ego that has even created what our shadow is for us. So it's our ego that's spending all day going good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, right, wrong. And that comes down to our conditioning, our upbringing, our circumstances, which creates that. So for me, what I would consider my shadow may not be a shadow for someone else. But I think ultimately it's really about not trying to cut it away from you, as Marc, you really nailed that, but instead cultivate a relationship with it, which is bringing your light to the shadow, rather than thinking that they're two separate things. They're all you. Every part of it is you. Jung, the Carl Jung talks about this. He's like the grandfather of shadow and shadow work and what have you. But I think if you imagine that there's an aspect of you, let's use judgment. Judgment is one of those shadow parts of us that we really don't like often. Many of us don't like our judgments. But if we can accept that, or consider that there's a little you that is a bit judgy. Now, if there was a little person that walked up to you in a park and was a bit judgy, you're not going to go, oh, that's not okay. You can't be judgy. We need to do something about this. You're kind of just going to give that little kid a bit of a hug and go, that's okay. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. Do you know what I mean? But we don't do that with ourselves. We kind of look at things like, I share this with a lot of the people that I work with. I can be driving down the road and someone will cut me off in traffic. And the first thing that comes into my head is not a peace, love and mundane approach of, that's okay, you can cut me off.
Oh, no.
Of course, the first thing that comes up is, what the did you know, what were you, of course that's the first thing that comes up. Why? Because that's an aspect of being human. And I think and then do I get to shift through that as quickly as possible? Yes. But I think there are aspects of being human which we've been conditioned to believe are not okay, and that we shouldn't let the world think that we are this way. And so we try and keep them hidden, which is what creates the shadow in the first place. But I love the part of me that's not judgmental, and I love the part of me that is judgmental, because both of those parts are me. And if I'm only going to bring love to one aspect of that, then I'm not loving myself unconditionally. I'm loving myself conditionally.
So that's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. So I think, shadow work is, in a sentence to sum it up for me, is cultivating a relationship, and a loving relationship, with all of the aspects of yourself. The parts that you want the world to see, and the parts that you don't want the world to see. Imagine if you had twins. You had and perceived, because I don't believe in good and bad, but you had the good twin and the bad twin. It'd be like just loving the good twin and not loving the bad twin. No mother is only going to love one of their twins. We need to treat ourselves that way. We've got a good twin and a bad twin inside of us, if you want to think about it that way. And our job is to love them both.
Wow, I think that is, there's been a lot come out of today. You guys are amazing, by the way. Honestly, you're incredible. There's been those game changer statements that I think would be really valuable for our social media team to extract from this video, and then perhaps put into a document that we can send out to everybody that is part of the Spirit Hive database. So, guys, if for those of you guys who are watching the video here today, if you're interested in becoming part of the Spirit Hive database, you're welcome to pop your email address on the thread, or you can go into the private messages section and you can pop your email address there, and then we'll add you to the database, where we can send you highlights of the videos that you can work with for yourself moving forward, and also supporting your children with. I think if we were able to have our kids understand that they are complete, whole and spectacular, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and learn to love themselves unconditionally. Jen, I think that's the word. That's the piece, that it's unconditional. You don't have conditions. And one of the videos that we're going to be doing for Spirit Hivers is going to be on the nature of love. And we're going to be talking about how most of the love that we know comes with conditions and boundaries, whereas real love is unconditional. And then the question is, how do you feel about your partner now? You know, if he doesn't put the toilet seat down or whatever, you know. So, and I think that that's a really good lead in, Jen, is to first you have to learn unconditional love for the self and for this skin bag. And then, as Marc says, to be able to move forward anyway, knowing that it's there, not letting it be something that we've been conditioned to believe we have to dismiss. And as Robyn has said, to be able to use it as a platform to become better because of it. Recognise that it's there to make you better. Recognise that it's there to make you everything you dream you could possibly be. And I think that kind of brings us to the end of today's video, because we're almost at 45 minutes now, and I feel like we could go on for another hour.
I love it. It's unscripted. Hey, it's completely unscripted. This is just
completely unscripted, which is gold, I think.
It's gold.
But it brings me to the close of, you know, intuition and developing your intuition is about getting to know this. And in closing, there are a million things outside that we invest so much time and energy into trying to control. A million things out there that you're trying to control. Your money, your house, your mortgage, your car, your family, people, whatever, your job, everything. What's going on in the world. We're all out there with our thoughts and our minds thinking about what's going on out there, causing anxiety in here. So there's so much out there that we're trying to control. Millions of things, but there's only one thing in here that we have to control, and it doesn't require your control. It requires your connection, and it requires your relationship to it. So instead of trying to control everything out there, which you can't, control everything in here, and then that will make everything out there a little more palatable, and a little bit easier to relate to, because you can't control anything or anyone, but you can connect to this and know this from the inside out and become inspired from the inside out. Do you guys agree?
Amen.
100%. 100%.
Well, thank you everybody for being a part of Spirit Hive this morning. It's been an absolute treat.
Oh, my little heart is so full.
Oh,
Yes.
it's delicious, isn't it?
Good way to start a Sunday.
Yeah, Jen and Robyn are completely inducted to do the real live hives now. It's like it's
We're seasoned veterans now. We've done one.
Actually, that's how it rolls in
High
Spirit
five,
Hive.
Jen.
Do one, and you're in the deep end.
Yeah. I love it in the deep end.
Oh,
Yeah.
delish. Well, guys, thank you so
you.
much for tuning in. This has been beautiful to share the morning with you. If you continue to watch the video or you tune in later on and you've got more questions, just keep posting them in the thread. All of us are right here to support, love you, and give you as much insight and information as we possibly can to help you dive deeper into yourself and to help you get to know and get connected to the one. So I will talk to you, and we will. I just got to get my bearings right. We will all talk to you guys through the month on more videos this month. Every Tuesday, make sure that you check into Spirit Hive. Share this video with your kids. If they would get bored just watching, 4 talking heads, then at least extract the gold and share that with them as well. And we're going to see Michelle next month here on Spirit Hive. And Michelle, if you're listening, which I know that you are, my beautiful soul, we are all sending you so much love and so much warmth and so much deliciousness to support you and your family through everything that you guys are going through. You are so loved and you are so missed, and we are here. So lean on us as you need to, hey? All right. Mwah. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.